Okay, we're ready for part 2.
Okay.
Okay, now you were talking about running opposition to the Sheik.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I mean, I regret doing that, but I did it, so I have to live with that and just go on, you know. I mean, I made a mistake. I think it was a mistake, but I made that mistake, and I had to go on and go from there, which I did.
Killer, why'd you do it? You're friends with him, you're driving in the car with him, he's being good to you. What was the money decision? Was it?
Yeah, well, I had a chance to make more money and have the belt for the new company and make more money. I mean, it was a bad move on my part. I was 22 years old. I was pretty young, man, and I just made a bad decision. When Sheik was dying, I think maybe about 6 months before I heard that he only had 2 or 3 months to live. Actually, about 6 months before he died, I went to Michigan. I called his wife, first. She's a great lady. Called his wife and told her that I really loved her before he passed away. I asked her, "Are you still there? Hello?"
Yes, Tim.
We're not breaking up?
No, Killer, keep going. I want to hear about this.
And I asked Joyce, I said, I would love to see the Sheik. I said, ask him if he wants to see me. And she asked him, I said, yes, love to see him. So I went to Michigan and went to his house. Man, he just looked like death warmed over. He was at on his last leg. I think he lived about 3 months 3 or 4 months after I saw him, he passed away. But I reached down on the bed and I hugged him and told him, I said, I love you, Sheik, and always appreciate everything you did for me. And I wanted to come see you this last time. And I said, I've never spoke to you. I've never talked to you at all. So I run opposite. I want to tell you something, Sheik. I'm so sorry for doing that. And it's absolutely, without a doubt, Sheik, it's the worst mistake and the worst thing I think I've ever done. And he told me, he said, I love you. And he said, I was proud to help. And he said, I was proud to build you into one of the better hills. Sheik said, I trained you. And he said, you can go on a card and you can be underneath anybody in this country and you can still get heat, have sometimes better match in the main event. He was right. I could go out and get heat and have just as good a match as anybody on the card. And I'm going to tell you, if you take a card and you had Abdullah the Butcher and Bruiser Brody on it, plus me, I'll tell you what, boy, you'd have a good card that night. See some good wrestling. Seriously, I learned so much from Sheik, but I was so happy to get to see him that last time and apologize. It helped me a lot, and I hope that it helped him. Do what?
Was that something that bothered?
Yeah, I knew before the opposition company that we made with Jack Kane. There at the end, I saw the mistake I made, and the new company was what I call in this business that I don't like to be around this phrase that I'm going to say. It was a rip and tear business deal, and that's a business deal in wrestling where the promoter, they just rip and tear and gouge and take everything they can take from the wrestling fans, from the wrestling business, with no plan of really staying in business for longevity or trying to make the wrestling better. They're just trying to make some quick bucks quick. They don't care about the wrestlers and they don't care about the wrestling. And I didn't like that, and I told Jack Kane, the head of the company, that I was leaving. So you can't do that. You were one of the Sheik's top heels. We've got you as the top heel here. And I said, I don't care. I'm getting out. I want out. I'm not going to be in this company anymore. And I left. And that would have been probably, I don't know, maybe about, I don't know what part of 75, but that was late 75 or something. I left out of there, man, and I couldn't get booked anywhere, because back at that time it was the NWA, and the NWA stuck together. You know what I'm saying? Hello?
Yes.
And they really stuck together, and no one would use me. Well, finally, I got booked back in Amarillo. The Funks took me back. That's where I started, and I went back there for a few months. Did fair, but I didn't do like what I wanted to do, so I called Stu Hart, and I went up to Calgary, stayed up there about 6 months.
So, Killer, after you ran opposition to the Sheik, you definitely got blacklisted a bit from the NWA.
Oh, definitely. And back in those days, brother, if you couldn't work with the NWA, there was nowhere to work.
Wow.
Because there was no little wrestling companies at that time, and there was no independent. It was either NWA or nothing, you know. And I finally, the Funks took me back, and then after the Funks, Calgary took me. I had a good run in Calgary, and I made Stu some money. I was his champion up there. I drew one of the bigger houses that he had ever drawn. The local named Dan Crawford, Stampede. Harley came up there, and I had the pleasure of wrestling Harley in Edmonton and Calgary. And we did some good houses there, too. And Calgary was a long trip, but some way it was an easy territory. You could rehab there, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Not a lot of stress. And I stayed there 6-7 months. Then I finally left Calgary and went to L.A. and worked with Michael Bell.
Killer, let me take you back just a moment. You said that you saw the Sheik. You were one of the last people alive to see the Sheik alive.
I don't know if I was one of the last people.
Well, in the final 3 months.
Yeah, I saw him there at the end.
How was he? Did he seem to have good medical care, or what? You know, we know
yes,
this.
Yes, he had good medical care, and his wife, great man. Joyce was right by his side, taking care of him, brother. Anything he needed, she was ahead of him on what he needed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She was there with something before he asked for it. Oh, he couldn't have had. I'm telling you right now, he couldn't have had better care. He was not put in a rest home. He wasn't put off in the hospital. He was right there with his wife, Joyce. Brother, I'm going to tell you something. He couldn't have got better care than he got.
Had he lost a lot of weight?
A tremendous amount. I would say he was probably, I don't know, he was pretty frail and pretty weak. Probably, I'm guessing maybe 130, 140 pounds.
Oh, difficult to envision the original Sheik.
I'll never forget when I first walked in the bedroom where he was laying in bed. He looked at me and he said, "You bastard." He said, "You know, we were always two best looking wrestlers." That's what he said to me when I walked.
Yeah. Was he, Killer, was he able to walk around or bedridden? Killer?
We had to push him in a wheelchair to the table. Could sit down. I got to sit down and have a meal. He could not walk. He couldn't really even get out of bed. He had to have help to get out of bed. He was very sick.
Killer, you wrestled in 1972 for Johnny Powers at Cleveland Municipal, the big Super Bowl show. Do you remember that?
I certainly do. It was a ring on first base, ring on second base, ring on third.
I've interviewed Johnny, and he said that was, he thought at the time it was just a great idea. What did you think of that, having the 3 simultaneous matches?
Well, I thought it was going to be really a big show. I mean, 3 ring, big stadium. There was a beer company that sponsored that.
Duke Kane.
Something
like that. Duke Kane.
I know it was Duke something.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, it was promoted, and it did have names from all over the world. I mean, there were wrestlers there from everywhere. It didn't draw.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how big it was, a lot of stuff in for the promotion, everything they put in.
They had Ernie Ladd and Abdul the Butcher in one match. They had Johnny Powers against Johnny Valentine. You were on the card. It was loaded, but...
Yes, it has some Japanese stars on it.
Were you surprised to be in that big baseball stadium, Cleveland Municipal, and the thing's empty?
Yes, I was looking for it to be a big crowd.
Yeah.
And it was not. Maybe both hard at all. A lot of times at Cleveland Arena down on Euclid, it was a pretty good sized doggone arena, and I've seen tremendous house. I mean, they're a lot of house.
Yeah, in Cleveland.
She was on that card too.
Yeah, I asked Johnny about it. He didn't have any clear answers except to say his life was never quite the same after that.
Well, I tell you, I think maybe that area went down after that too. Now that area at one time, Cleveland and upstate New York.
Yes.
Brother, it was on fire. That place was drawing houses everywhere.
Well, it was just a regional territory, but if you read the Apter magazines out in New York, it was a world territory. It was red hot.
Well, it was red hot, and you got some big cities. You had Buffalo, Utica, and Rochester, and Cleveland, and Akron, and Canton. Had a lot of pretty good sized cities. Pittsburgh, they run Pittsburgh too. They had some pretty good sized cities in that area, and they were close together, heavily populated interstates. To all of that was pretty nice.
Killer, what'd you think when you first hit Stampede Wrestling? Did you wrestle during the winter?
Where?
In Stampede with Stu Hart.
Oh, yes, I did. Terrible weather, and I tell you, I had some horrible road trips there. Really bad experiences on the road there in the winter.
Did you ever get into the dungeon for a little bit of mat wrestling with Stu?
I never did get to the dungeon. I never did go to the house.
Probably better off.
Probably so.
What kind of guy was Stu in 1978?
Stu was a good man. He was good to work for. He gave me a guarantee to come up there. Said he would furnish my transportation and give me so much money guaranteed. And my check was there every single week, and it never did vary from the amount that he told me he would give me. I got it every single. I can't say anything bad about Stu. He did me good. Are you still there?
Yes.
Let's see. A couple of the kids were wrestling. Some of them what, when I was in Calgary, Owen was only about 7 or 8 years old, the one that died in the fall in Kansas City.
Yeah,
he was just a young kid. Those kids good in WWE. Certainly second generation. Their father good. It's a pretty success story. What did Calgary stayed a good territory a long time.
Why'd you end up leaving Calgary?
I just been there 6 or 7 months. Got through the winter, and the winter time is so harsh. Man, it's just so bad. And but believe it or not, they did. I think they did their better business. Other than the Stampede, was always big for them. And I just wanted to. The guarantee was not super large. It was sufficient, but I just needed a place to go, get away from everything, and I'd pretty well been blackballed. It wouldn't get pushed or get nothing done anywhere else. So I said, I just think I could get out of the United States there. And after about 6 months, settled down and give LA a try.
Tell me, what year were you? Like 79 in Los Angeles?
I think it was 76 when I was in Calgary. Probably 78.
1978?
Yeah, probably about 78. And I think from LA, I went back to work for either Joe Blanchard for a while or Fred. Then by 80 or 81, I went to Atlanta. Back in Atlanta, I think it was early 80s, I went to Atlanta.
Killer, tell me, what was going on with Michael Bell in California? He had a big promotion, and then after Blasitolas, things went downhill. When you went there, was it a solid business or a dying business?
No, I don't think it was a dying business when I was there.
Okay.
I may be off a year or two on what years I was there. No, the Olympic Auditorium was doing good, and no, he was. I don't think it was dying when I was there.
Did they have a lot of the Mexican wrestlers with the lucha libre, or was it a mix?
It was a mix. Quite a few luchos, but it was still, the Tolos brothers were there, and the Guerreros were there, and Roddy Piper had just left before I got there. And, no, it was still a good business. Mike still had a good business.
Who was booking when you were there?
Leo Garibaldi. Then I got out of there and to Atlanta and worked for Mr. Barnett. Good man to work for. Atlanta was doing good. I teamed up with Larry Zbyszko. Had some really, really good tag team partners. Teamed up with Larry Zbyszko there in Atlanta and worked off TBS. We toured Georgia and Ohio and Michigan, West Virginia. I think I beat Paul Orndorff for the Intercontinental belt.
National title.
National title?
Yeah. You were a national heavyweight champion.
Yes. I remember I sold the belt to my partner, Larry Zbyszko, $50,000. And Bob Geigel, at that time president of the NWA, he came to TBS TV for the next wrestling, show that we made, and stripped the belt off Larry and took the belt. Told me that you cannot sell a belt. The NWA, you cannot sell a belt to someone. The belt must be won by an individual. He cannot buy it. So they took his national. Was it the national? You said?
Yes, national champion.
Yes, they took that belt and put it up in a tournament. And I don't know, the tournament run 2 or 3 shows. I don't know. I forget who I ended up with, but there was nobody left but me and the guy I wrestled, Zbyszko, and Mr. Wrestling too. And I got beat, so that left Mr. Wrestling and Larry Zbyszko to go for belt on the next show because that was down to the final. And Larry won the belt. I come out of the back, cheated. Larry ended up belt.
Killer, I remember seeing you a lot in World Class with Fritz von Erich. How well did you know Fritz?
I knew Fritz pretty well. I worked Fritz pretty well the last 8 or 10 years in the business. I worked around Dallas, San Antonio.
Is there an easy way for you to sum up what you think happened with the whole family, or is it just so complex?
Well, I don't want to air out anybody's dirty laundry, okay?
Yeah, of course.
But the best way I can describe it and still be decent family of the Von Erich family is what I saw. You've heard the old saying, too much, too soon?
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw the boys, come out of high-speed driving, new Corvette, Cadillac, living in a nice home, making real good money, didn't really earn it. They given those things back. They were wrestling his company, and they really did earn things. They really did earn their position. Wrestling, being spoon-fed. What do young guys do? Too much money and too much fame. You know what a lot of turn drugs. Football players do it. Basketball players, baseball players do it. All athletes, they're young. They don't have their heads on exactly straight. They've got too much money. A lot of them go that way. A lot of them don't, but a lot of them do. Those boys are good boys. Fritz Doris, great people. I don't know. Really a hard luck thing. I think if the boys had been made to earn their money, more had been so fast, had them up hard the way, big lives bought it. And that's just the way I think. I could be wrong.
Tim, what type of potential did Fritz have with World Class?
What kind of potential?
Well, you were there. You saw the heat.
I'll tell you what. I think at one time Fritz von Erich could have made a move, and it wouldn't even be a WWE, right? That's what kind of potential I think Fritz had. There wouldn't even be a WWE, brother. It would just be World Class. That's how strong and new and inventive they were. They changed the way wrestling looked on TV. They had the high-class wrestling before WWE did. I'm going to tell you right now, I think WWE changed their format by watching World Class. World Class, the first one company changed to a modern look. He made a couple of World Class, went pretty well around the country, the syndication. It wasn't on nothing like TBS or USA or any network, any coast-to-coast network. Brother, it had a couple of hundred stations syndicated on it. I remember we went up to a couple of shows in Boston.
Well, I remember I lived near Boston at the time, and I remember you guys were on Channel 25 in Boston, and there was no comparison between your show and the WWF at the time. You guys had them beat hands down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was a new type of show, and it had a lot of color and a lot of fast movement, a lot of special clip stories, and it's just a new type of format. It was a new show, and it got over good, and some people wanted Fritz to go all over the country because his tape went all over the country. And Fritz says no. He says, I'm not going back to Boston anymore. He says, we're getting some calls from New York, and he says, I just don't want to do it. He said, that's Vince's territory, and he says, I've got my own territory here, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, right away. He says, the NWA promoters, they believed in that. Just like when I run opposition against the Sheik, I was blackballed, and they held me down, and I'll tell you what, that held me down for a long time. Nobody would give me a push. Nobody would let me go and let me do anything. Fritz just said no.
Killer, do you think
I will not follow my tape? I will not go into these other promoters' backyards. That's theirs. This is mine.
Killer, I've talked to Mickey Grant and Mark Lawrence, and
that's Mickey Grant's man.
Yeah, and they theorized that possibly Fritz was afraid to let the boys go so far away from Texas and that they could get in a lot of trouble. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Maybe, but I just think Fritz was old school and didn't want to go in the territories. Fritz was a money maker. He wanted to make money, and I don't think that's really the reason.
Okay.
The boys could get in trouble right here as easy as they could somewhere else, and they could do anything right here as easy as they could anywhere else. I really think that Fritz honored the other promoters in the NWA, and he was old school,
Now, Fritz did a show, I remember, in Lynn, Massachusetts, an outdoor stadium. Were you on that show?
No.
Okay. And then next year he came back, I believe it was in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I think you were on that one.
No, I was not on that one either.
But you said you wrestled on the East Coast.
I wrestled on the Boston show. When I was in Michigan first starting, I used to go to Hamburg and Philly and do TV shows for Vince Sr. I did quite a few TV shows for Vince Sr.
Killer, is there a reason you never worked for? Is there a reason you never worked for Vince Jr.?
You know what? I don't know why. I've got no idea. I just never did call him for one thing, and I guess I should have.
Did you want to?
Yeah, I think his club kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, I was in Portland, Oregon, and I was tag teaming with Roddy Piper, working programs against Buddy Rhodes, Easy Adams House. We set that territory on fire. We were making money every town we went to, and Portland would run on Saturday night. Got so hot, Don began to have his Saturday night show. Then he'd have a Tuesday night special. We'd work on Saturday night, return it on Tuesday, sell out Saturday night, sell out on Tuesday, and then sell out again the next Saturday.
Yeah, I remember. You guys great. Some of it's still on the internet on YouTube. Yeah.
I was real happy to be able to team up with Roddy. And Roddy got hooked up with New York from there. They did not talk to me, and I feel like my name was tarnished when I run opposition against the Sheik.
So that hurt you that much, huh?
Well, there was a lot of old timers that were really true to the NWA, and I was known as a rebel and a cutthroat.
Wow.
And also I think too I can be open about this. I was known as a drughead. That didn't help me. I've since been to rehab. I'm clean now, and I'll take a drug test anytime, anywhere. I've been clean for probably 10 or 12 years now, but that didn't help me, and then my reputation running opposition didn't help. And two, I've done some things like if they really did me bad somebody had a big house, and I had been working for them, helping them build their territory with other guys, not just me. And we built up where we had a tremendously big house. And they just give everybody nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I have walked out many times on motion, sent their belt back, said, "Here's your belt, but don't be your champion. That's the way you're going to pay me. You don't affect me, and I don't work for you." I did that quite a few places, and that's not good either. That's a bad business, man. But in the 70s and early 80s, brother, they just they control, total control of you. It's just hard to describe how they kept control. They kept you in the 70s. They kept you in a car driving 2,000 or 3,000 miles a week, 7 days a week. You could hardly ever be home to see your family. Nowadays they fly. They work 14 or 15 days a month and they fly. Well, in the 70s, in the early 70s, all through the 70s, the only way I could get a day off, get an injury, because when they built you up on a TV, they wanted to recoup money, and you had to work every day. That'll wear you out. That'll drive you to drugs, believe it or not.
I believe it. Tough lifestyle indeed.
It was very tough when we were in the cars driving every day. I mean, a lot of weeks, I've seen weeks I'd drive 3,000 miles, wrestle every day, and work out every day. I mean, it was just go, 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 go. Ask for a day off, say no, you can't be off. Put everything on you on TV. Got to run these shows. I've wrestled with a fractured rib. I've wrestled with a dislocated shoulder. I've wrestled with a broken ankle. I wrestled in Osaka, Japan.
Wow.
In an tag match. Me, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Harley Race, and Briscoe. It was a six-man tag. I know it was mostly all world champions except me. I had 2 rolls of tape, athletic tape, on that ankle, plus an ankle brace. And those guys, they worked with me and took care of me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I only had to get in the ring and so much. I mean, they really helped me and took care of me. All those guys are great champions.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you. You've been great. I'd like to talk to you again sometime. You've got a lot of great stories. I'm really surprised. Well, I've got
many more,
and I want to hear them.
I've got many more. But can you help me? Give me a little plug for my wrestling school.
That's what I wanted to do right now. We're going to put it up on our site. Would you like to have your a phone number, email address, or the address for the website?
I'd like to have my email and my phone number.
Okay, we can do both of those. I'll have those put up for you, and they can just contact you to get involved with the wrestling school, Big Time Pro Wrestling.
You don't have my email.
Yes, I do. Killer Tim Brooks at webtv.net.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
okay,
I do.
And I got a couple of web pages. One is NAWA and Management Pro Wrestling.
Wait, give me that one again. That one I don't have.
NAWA.
Yep.
Management and Wrestling.
Okay.
North American Wrestling Elite Management and Wrestling.
Okay, fine.
And then I have one that's Big Time Pro Wrestling.
Okay, I'm going to get these all published up on our site for you, okay?
Okay.
And I do appreciate, I know you don't give many interviews, and I'm very grateful you gave our audience a chance. I'd like to hear more stories, Tim. I'm going to call you again.
I hope I did a good job for you.
You were excellent, and I will get this done. Thank you so much.
See you again. And now tell me your site again. I want to check it out.
All you do is go to 5757talk.com, and your interview will be up within a half hour.
Are we still on the air?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I want to talk to you for a second when we go off, okay?
Okay, I'm going to...
I want to thank all the wrestling fans that made it possible for me to wrestle many years. I don't think there's any fans in the world better fans than wrestling. Great people.
Thank you, Killer. I won't... Don't hang up, okay?
Okay.
Thanks so much.